With thousands of vehicle makes and models, Americans can have it all. And if you can't find a car in the States, you can import one or even have something custom built. Let's face it, the options are pretty incredible. It seems every major manufacturer is producing fast, affordable cars that are as reliable as they are comfortable. From cars to trucks to motorcycles and mopeds, Americans can get any vehicle they want. Well, almost. Believe it or not, there are some vehicles banned in America under any and all circumstances. Many of these cars are considered too dangerous to US roads, or haven't passed critical US standards. Others are simply banned for being made in China, whether the emissions are too toxic or the safety requirements aren't met. There are countless cars no American can get their hands on. Well, luckily for you clicked on this video, because today you're going to learn about 10 banned cars you can't buy in America. The Toyota GR Yaris. We suppose that the GR Corolla is a neat consolation prize, but it's not as special as the GR Yaris, because the latter is an automotive mashup built from scratch, due to the World Rally Championships racing rules that stipulated that a racing car should have the same body shell as the production car. Toyota had to completely redesign the dual-stream Yaris until it was virtually a brand new car. The GR Yaris uses the front end of the standard Yaris and the rear end of a Corolla. The car is also equipped with wider wheels for improved handling, and all-wheel drive, the gold standard of the World Rally Championship racing circuit. The end result is a masterpiece, made even better by the 2024 models. Even Christian von Koenigsegg owned one, the ultimate car celebrity endorsement. Previous models were less powerful than the GR Corolla, but now the GR Yaris has the same horsepower and on top of that weighs significantly less, with the Corolla coming in at 3,200 pounds, but the GR Yaris being stripped down to 2,800 pounds. Previous models were less powerful than the GR Corolla, but now the GR Yaris has the same horsepower and on top of that weighs significantly less, with the Corolla coming in at 3,200 pounds, but the Yaris being stripped down to 2,800 pounds. As a result, the GR Yaris is a true gearhead's top choice, much like its competitors, the Mitsubishi Lancer Evo, the Subaru WRX STI, and the Toyota Celica GT4. The Ford Puma ST. First they denied us the hatchbacks, then the sedans, and now even Ford's more interesting crossovers aren't being sold in the US, and we're not the only ones feeling the loss. The European Puma ST has won the attention of Ford CEO Jim Farley, who tweeted that he'd love for the company to bring it stateside. The Puma was first used by Ford's European division as a two-door baby coupe based on the Ford Fiesta hatchback, sold between 1997 and 2001. And like many other car enthusiasts, we were deeply disappointed when Ford announced that the Ford Fiesta ST would no longer be sold in the US. The second generation Fiesta ST was a magnificent vehicle, and it enjoys a cult following in the United States. That's probably why the Puma ST wasn't that popular in the American car market. Like the Fiesta ST, the Puma ST used a turbocharged 1.5-liter inline 3-cylinder engine, producing 197 horsepower, the same as the turbo 1.6-liter 4-cylinder of the previous generation Fiesta ST, that was sold in the United States but with 236 pound-feet of torque. The ST Puma makes 22 pound-feet more than its Fiesta sibling. Power is transmitted to the front axle through a 6-speed manual gearbox. Instead of a traditional 3-door hatchback, Ford's replacement for the Fiesta ST was a subcompact, subpar crossover, meaning more weight and an increased ride height. All negative traits American consumers steer away from. Regardless, Ford does know how to engineer the Puma ST to handle properly. Anyone who's ever owned a Focus will know that the base models handle well. Because of that, the Puma ST drove more like a hatchback, and less like the average souped-up compact crossover. It's not the best looking Ford ever made, but you can get it in a green shade that wouldn't look out of place on a Lamborghini. The Alpine A10R. The Alpine will eventually come to the US, but by the time it arrives in 2028, the A110 will be long gone. It's a pity because the I-110 was the only realistic alternative to the Porsche Cayman. Many have tried to usurp the mighty Porsche, but this French mid-engine sports car is the only one that got close, and in some cases actually beat it. The derivative we're interested in is the R, which is the stripped-out lightweight version. It only weighs 2,300 pounds, which is lighter than the Mazda Miata RF, yet it has twice the power output. Alpine used carbon fiber quite liberally to make the car lighter than its competitors. As you can see, even the wheels are made of it. The interior is high quality as well, making it evident this model isn't for everyday use. In here you'll find carbon bucket seats, racing harnesses, and not much else. In fact, the infotainment system is only there because it's required by law to display the reverse camera. The Suzuki Jimy. The want-one factor for the Jimy was already relatively high, but now Suzuki has fixed one of its two major problems. This 3-door car is tiny, and you can't fit anything bigger than a 7-year-old on the second-row bench. And if that bench is up, the trunk is only big enough for a hand towel. You can put stuff on the roof, but it makes it more unstable, so the only realistic trip you can undertake was to a nudist camp. Now there's a 4-door version with a larger trunk. It's still tiny, but you can at least bring some stuff along. Suzuki hasn't fixed the Jimny's other problem, which is the wheezy, naturally aspirated 4-cylinder engine. It was just shy of adequate in a 3-door, so we can only imagine what it must feel like when you load on a 4-door with 4 people and their luggage. Over long distances, it'll drive you mad unless you accept that the trip must be completed at 65 miles per hour while you admire the scenery. But the Jimy isn't about freeway commutes. It's about scampering over rocks and through narrow trails where the Wrangler would get stuck. And when it comes to traversing the unknown, the Jimy is king. The Lexus LM. The Lexus LM is the perfect luxury car for a person who wants to fly under the radar. Yes, the grille is a bit on the flashy side, but we're basically talking about a car that competes with the S-Class and the 7 Series. The LM is currently more discreet than both those cars. Why would you buy this? The engines aren't particularly powerful, and large cars aren't known for being extremely fun to drive. But this isn't the car you want to pilot anyway. The secret is the 4-seater model, which has 2 seats up front and 2 completely isolated first-class seats in the back. It makes the rear seats on every other luxury car look like a poverty spec rental. It's not so much the 48-inch screen or the carpets we find attractive. The real secret is a set of leather-wrapped seats that recline almost flat, and the ottoman that you can rest your feet on. The seats also sense if a person is hot or cold, and adjust the temperature accordingly. Now that's real luxury. The BMW M3 Touring. If you could only choose one car for the rest of your life, this would likely be it. The M3 Touring is the perfect size, as the average American family is only 3.13 people. Those rear seats are big enough for one full-size person and 13% of a person. And how much luggage does 13% of a person really need? And for those who want an SUV because they might go off-road at some point, stop lying to yourself. The research shows that 98% of people only ever take their SUV off-road once a year, if that. Nope, the M3 wagon is all you need to live out the rest of your life in an automotive nirvana. BMW kept things remarkably simple for the M3 Touring. There's only one spec, and that's the competition with an 8-speed automatic and MX drive. The XM has left us cold. It's just that we don't feel like there's an upside to the plug-in hybrid powertrain, which spoils the rest of the package. BMW will likely knock it out of the park. But for now, the M3 Touring remains the top of our list of cars we'd be happy to spend the rest of our lives with. The Mercedes AMG A45S 4MATIC Plus. America gets the AMG CLA45. It's now available in the full-fat S guise, with 416 horsepower, but many Americans wish they can get the hatchback version, the A45S, particularly since they share a platform, powertrain, and almost everything else. Why, you ask? Well, we drove the two back-to-back, when the updated versions were first revealed, and despite all the commonalities, they have some different personalities in getting on the power. The A45S without a trunk behaves in a much spikier fashion, more prone to rotation when trail braking and getting on the power, considering the drift-inducing rear differential already makes the A45/CLA45 twins prone to sideways antics. The shorter body dials up the fun to 11. The Cupra Formentor VZ5. Cupra is officially coming to America, but when it gets here, we probably won't see the Formentor VZ5, which is a shame. The VZ5 is a crossover, but it's one powered by Audi Sora's 2.5-liter 5-cylinder turbo from the Audi RS3, with up to 385 horsepower and 355 pound-feet of torque. The car's fast, claiming a 0-60 sprint in under 4.2 seconds, and it's also pleasing to look at. The interior is particularly attractive, but it also has space for an average-sized family. We don't often support the crossover craze, but when it looks this good and goes this quick, we definitely like to see more. BYD. Chinese automotive manufacturer BYD gained recognition as it edged out Tesla as the world's largest maker of electric cars. Many see BYD, which stands for Build Your Dreams, as a more cost-conscious option for consumers. But an escalating trade battle between the United States and China make it difficult for those BYD cars to hit highways here, particularly as the US domestic market for EVs has recently slowed. China's BYD has become one of the world's largest manufacturers for electric vehicles, including buses, trains, and automobiles. In China and other markets, BYD sells electric cars that cost as little as the US equivalent of $10,000, helping build the brand's popularity. With a mix of 1.6 million battery electric cars and 1.4 million gasoline electric cars, BYD outsold Tesla by selling more than 3 million vehicles, earning the crown as the world's top producer of new energy vehicles in 2023. Tesla sold 1.8 million VEs, narrowly retaining its lead in that category. BYD's 43% sales decline in the first quarter of 2024 allowed Tesla to regain its leadership in sales for now, even though BYD's car manufacturing takes place in mainland China, its largest sales market. It's a publicly traded entity with a growing US footprint. Some 60% of its stocks are held by US investors, including a 10% share that was once owned by Warren Buffett's Berkshire Hathaway Group. In 2011, BYD opened a North American subsidiary in Los Angeles to build electric buses and heavy-duty trucks. That division has sold more than 700 vehicles in the US and Canada. BYD has claimed that it has no plans to sell vehicles such as the Tesla-styled Han EV sedan in the States. However, BYD's US website showcases the specs of two versions of the Han. Much like any other automaker displays its new products, and over the last 15 years, BYD has made appearances at car shows in the United States, suggesting that the Chinese company may plan to sell its cars in the US. In the meantime, BYD EVs have edged ever closer to the US car market. The company's $21,000 Dolphin Mini EV is already sold in Mexico, and BYD plans to build an EV car factory there as well, allowing easier access to the US car market due to the North American Free Trade Agreement, also known as NAFTA. American consumers already have some familiarity with Chinese-made EVs, including the Polestar 2. However, new tariffs aimed at Chinese products make it more difficult for companies such as BYD to succeed in the United States. In May 2024, the federal government announced new tariffs on Chinese-made EVs. The US government also said that those tariffs could quadruple to a full 100% in August of 2024 in an effort to protect US EV automakers. The Muka Roadster. We all enjoy a good retro car, but Muka is in the metro modding business. Instead of taking an old car and making it more modern, this Japanese car company used existing reliable cars and puts them in a 1940s body. The model you see here is the Roadster, also known as the Himako in Japan. While it may seem like heresy to some, the Roadster has been enough of a success to warrant a second generation. The first Roadster was based on the NC Miata, but the model you see here is based on the current ND. The exciting thing is that Muka chose the 1.5 naturally aspirated ND, which is not available in the United States. It also stretches the wheelbase, but the rest of the mechanical bits, even the interior, remain the same, but the steering wheel is rebadged. Why do we like it? The idea of driving a car with basic classic styling is appealing, which is precisely why Morgans are so special. But unlike Morgans, the Roadster is one of the most reliable platforms ever, so you can buy it and not worry about breakdowns, parts, servicing, and etc. Even if you don't like this styling, Muka sells another MX-5 that looks like a C2 Corvette called the Rockstar. Well guys, those are 10 banned cars in America. If you guys like this video, give it a thumbs up. Also, if you'd like to see the channel, subscribe and put post notifications on. You could also follow the channel on Instagram at Modern Muscle YT. I'm Jeff from Modern Muscle, and I'll see ya next time.